all right. It is, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the show, Football Amigo Show. Today, I have my good friend, Handsome. That's a nice top that you get, by the way. It's
I think
bright, it's different. Yeah,
you
you do.
gotta trick your body. If the games aren't going well, you gotta look for the
Uh,
margins.
I say, okay. Hey, that's a good one. That's a good one. You doing all right though, outside of the way Arsenal has been playing lately?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. In fact, I'm optimistic. I'm not optimistic about the title, but I'm definitely optimistic about the picking up form because it's been challenging. It's been challenging, but it is what it is. A
Yeah.
lot has happened. Yeah.
Before we go into it, let me welcome the amigos. Welcome to the Football Amigos show again, amigos. Like, subscribe, do all these good things. We don't have me day today, but guess what? That means he's coming back with more information from what's happening in Manchester United. Ruud van Nistelrooy is finally out. I don't understand it. All right, let's talk about Arsenal. Y'all been dropping some point lately, and it breaks my heart to see the team that I thought was going to be a strong runner up for the title, even in Champions League. What do you have to say about the last result against Chelsea? And what do you think is the trend leading up to these results?
Well, I watched a good chunk of the most of the second half. I didn't watch the first half a lot. I saw highlights of that. Personally, it actually the result was much better than I anticipated. If you know in the prediction show, I said we'd lose that game 2-1 or 3-1 to Chelsea, just because I couldn't think we could contain them in terms of that speed. Because I didn't think we have the fitness, which we still don't. But however, Odegaard was fit enough to start this game and at least play a good chunk of it. And it showed that the quality of our press became a much higher because he is the main coordinator of that press. And so we were able to contain them a lot better, except obviously when we didn't. Uh, to be honest, Arteta is the best person to go and ask about what it is. He understands that the biggest problem that we've had this season is fitness. Uh, you can't knock that. It's not just the players that we're actually missing, being key players of our creative play. First one being Martin Odegaard, but second being Calafiori. He was brought in for a very specific reason, and he showed that at the first few games till he got injured. But it was also the clarity, just how much all of our players were struggling for fitness. Gabriel was managing an injury. Ben White, we've been having to. I think the best we could get out of him was 45, 60 minutes of game time at a peak level. Timber is in the same boat. Tomiyasu is not fit. You look all through the center. Declan Rice had to miss the Champions League game because of an injury to his toe. He barely made it this game, and even then, it could show his fitness levels. And Saka has been managing an injury as well. And so you see all this, and you just realize that it doesn't make you a bad team, but what it stops you from doing is your plan A. And in some extent, even your plan B is out of the window. Because if you're not going to create from the front run and create it, if you're not going to create on the ball, you want to create off the ball. And when you lose Odegaard, you lose the fitness. You can't do off the ball, but you also struggle to do on the ball. We brought in Trossard to play that creative role, and I think he's done a good job, as well as he could be expected from him. I mean, I guess good job is to congratulate you. He's done a good job as could be expected. But all in all, I don't feel I'm disappointed where we are because it's 9 points to the top of the table. You can say it's early. However, I mean, no team has clawed that in the history. The last team to do it was I want to say Manchester United, but it was a much less point gap. I think no, it was it's not Brighton. I keep forgetting their name. Sorry.
I think City at some point was behind. Liverpool about that much gap margin, and Liverpool
Yeah.
just dropped like 7 points in about 2 to 3 games. I have to look at that season. But I know the margin it's huge for sure, especially in this current modern day Premier League that every team is ready to take a point from you. You see City losing points, so it's a little scary to have that much of a
Yeah.
margin for sure. But
I
yeah, go
mean,
back to your point.
they didn't lose a point. They just lost games. They've lost 4 games in a row. Uh, but it's just another example of you lose some linchpin players. Like De Bruyne is gone, Rodri is done. You don't automatically become a bad team, right? But you lose your margin, meaning that even you can still win games, but everyone now is in punching distance, and that means you can get hurt, and it shows. But honestly, Odegaard is back. He just needs to gain fitness. Declan Rice just needs to gain more fitness. We have the break now to improve the fitness of Timber, to improve the fitness of Calafiori, to improve the fitness of White, to make sure Gabriel is back to his best. And I really do think coming back, I think we'll kick on. I don't like this. This start has been difficult in terms of having to play a lot of top teams, but not just play them top teams, but play them away. And that's a lot of other teams that have, but also just the refereeing decision from the beginning of the season. Because I personally, I keep going back to that Brighton game. Like I still don't understand what happened. Like the Man City one is egregious to some extent, but at least there was intent. You could see that him boots the ball out. You can say something about that. With the Brighton being in control of that game, and then having that and ended up drawing that game. Like I feel like we could use those 2 points because you have those extra 2 points. We're on equal footing with what's it called, Man City, and 7 points doesn't seem as what's it called insurmountable, which is kind of funny to say because that's only a 2 point difference. But so after that, a big part of what we're struggling on is just fitness. Because I look at some of the players and I look at Saka, it's like his output has been cut down. You can tell the output of our defense has been cut down significantly. We're conceding way more chances than we normally have, and so you can't. The only thing you can do is get fit, or say in January, who should we bring in? But I really don't see that. The only one thing I will criticize Arteta for is I will say though that it is clear we could use a different option up front in terms of our left wing and in terms of our what's it called our striker. You can tell that Sterling was a stopgap and we brought him to fill in the ranks, but it's not quite clear that Arteta trusts him. Because if he trusts him, then he would have been brought on sooner to rotate for Saka and Martinelli. But you can tell he's not quite there. Uh, Jesus is a great player. I like him. I think he can still come back to form. But I think for his wages, he has to go. And but what I am happy now is that now that Odegaard is back, I really do think you start to see the best from Havertz again, because he has been having to cover a lot of space that I think he won't have to anymore. Uh, yeah, it's I'm a little bit disappointed. Like we could go out and like get a striker, or we can try for the cops, but I can't say what it is. That I'd want to do better. It's almost like you've been dealt a bad hand, and he's played it respectfully. Like he has played it in a good way. Like I think, is it possible he could have played the hand better? Possibly, but in general, he has played it and has gone just as well as can be expected. We lost to
Yeah.
Inter Milan. It's still one of the best teams, dominant in Italy, dominant in Europe. What's it called? We play Chelsea, who are on form away from home, missing what's it called, key players in terms of fitness. So like our inability to keep up that pressure throughout the entire 90 minutes is showed in their equalizer. However, I think we played well. We created chances, so it's almost like a glass half empty. I'm going on a lot, but it's hard to pinpoint because I can't. I know that the next half with players coming back will look a little bit different. I just hope they can plan to make sure that they have contingencies. I don't think we have contingencies in terms of talent, And that's difficult to find players that would come over and sit on the bench, right?
Well,
Hmm.
so if I can hop in on there,
Hmm.
it's not difficult. It's not difficult. You see, you can have a backup plan, contingency plan, like a team B, and they are hungry enough and looking forward to the day that they will get a game time. And when they get the opportunity, they will take it. I'll give you a good example. I would not mention Liverpool. The problem that I have with Arsenal, and correct me if I'm wrong, I kind of want to tie this back to my next question for you. In the last show, you said, Arsenal don't need to go to the transfer window in January because when these guys get back from their fitness drama, then you have problem of what's gonna happen. No, with the way football is being played now, the amount of games that teams are playing, your contingency plan should be as good as plan plan A. You know,
Yeah,
uh,
I will buttress this in terms of injuries. It really does matter who gets injured,
it does, but
right? Yeah. Hmm.
at the same time, even when I look at Liverpool the other day, I'm like,
Hmm.
if I were to give Van Dijk a little bit of break, who would I bring on? Who's gonna take that place? I can see Joe Gomez and Konate being partners at the back, but no, I don't quite trust it yet. But we need to start experimenting with that. So to your point of who you gonna bring on, regardless, everybody should be replaceable. Everybody should have some level of replacement. Think about Simicas of Liverpool, and I'm bringing Liverpool too much into it. Simicas and Robinson. I like the way the game time is being managed, and when Simicas who is improved a lot. Whenever he shows up, he's doing his best. Look at this guy from Chelsea, Gusto. When James got injured, Gusto stepped up pretty good, and it's hard for Gusto to sit on the bench now. Gusto, the French guy that first game, he was just hopping from everywhere. I think it was last season when James injured, like the game one, and Gusto just took it on. And now James is back, and it's just hard for him to get game time. He's been used on the left, and all of those things. So, if you have a young team that is striving to be Team A, when things happen, you have a very good team that could respond so well. That could respond so well. The team that is also experiencing this right now is Manchester City. Man City also, for years, I've always thought they have a strong backup plan, but lately I just don't see it. They only have strong backup plan for Doku slash Grealish. Um, who's going to be their striker when Haaland gets destroyed or damaged? I don't see who that person is that I can put in that category B. You know, that's just my point. So I'll let you go back to the points, but also answer the question of do you think January Arsenal should at least do something or start bringing the guys that can step in and say, okay, I'm a C player, but with this current situation, I want to be a B player.
Yeah. At this stage, the reason why I said about January is the players that improve the squad are not available in January. That's
Fair.
that's 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 just a. So we've been through, and they already said even prior to the transfer window that they had spent a lot of money. The outlay for Declan Rice was a lot. The outlay for some of these players, we had to clear out players, reduce wages, get more income to see if we could try again. We're getting very close to what do you call the Premier League
Cap.
financial fair play uh, limit over, or it's like a rolling limit over 3 years, and so we had to do everything to stay within that. And so they said they were not going to do that much business. I do believe that if we had managed to sell the players we wanted to sell early enough in the in the
In the summer.
in the window, we would have bought other players. But we did look. We had a specific player in mind. We tried to get him as a striker. He didn't come through.
Who was
But
that?
I keep forgetting his name. You asked me. It's not
The Romanian
Gyökeres.
guy.
It's yeah, the Romanian striker.
Romanian
Uh,
guy.
we tabled 70 million. He said he wasn't going to come and he was going to stay for another season. We can try again next season, see if we can get him. or we can even, I mean, Gyökeres is available. Say he's available for 63 million. We can do that. However, with us, you can just tell. Like when we played Liverpool and you guys came back, our back line was Miles Lewis Skelly, uh, uh, was Gabriel still on at that point? Or Saliba, I think Gabriel was out. Yeah, Gabriel was gone out. Timber had gone out. Miles Lewis Skelly, Ben White, Saliba, and I don't know who was on the Partey was on a wing back. If you put that situation on Liverpool, what's it called right now, where it's like, okay, you're playing this game, we're gonna take out Konate, we're gonna take out Van Dijk, we're gonna take out Trent, we're gonna move things around, and the defense becomes weaker. And normally you'd be like, oh, let's bring a player to shore that up, but we have quality players in Tomiyasu, we have quality players in Calafiori that can play these roles, but need to be brought back. And if you look at the upfront player, is whenever you look at a player like Saka, whenever you look at a player like Odegaard, they are expected to play just as many games as they possibly can. If you sign a player that is hungry, they're not going to get a lot of games, and there are not many players that are going to come in and be like, "Oh, I'm going to play second fiddle," and what's it called? And I'm going to sit on the bench. It's just not going to happen. And so
I
it's just
disagree, though. I think it's possible. I really think it is.
see,
I mean, Arsenal is a big club that some
we
guy want to be part of Arsenal. Um,
we're sorry,
no, no, no.
we're a big club in theory recently, but we don't have that formal pedigree or that bank balance. We're growing that back. Remember, we've not been in the Champions League for a long time. We've not been in the what's it called? Like that takes a while to grow your balance sheet to sustain that kind of score. And they're on the track. We got rid of Nketiah, we got rid of Nelson, we got rid of Emil Smith Rowe, players that I'm happy we let go. I'm disappointed that we couldn't get a replacement for those people that left, right? Because it happened so late, right? Like Vieira, for example, we sent him on loan. I would have preferred if we could have, what's it called, kept him. But I mean, who anticipates that Odegaard's going to get injured and Vieira needs game time? But we have Nwaneri, and Nwaneri is good for 80% of the games we're going to play. But we've been playing those 20% games that you need world class quality. Like imagine the game we play against Brighton. Imagine Salah being injured, and imagine how your attack looks very differently. It's not going to look bad, but when you start playing the biggest teams, there's a challenge. And I think it does matter who. If there's one part where I feel like we probably should have paid attention, it's the Martinelli's position. But other than that, I don't really see, because I like Lewis Skelly. He's talented and he will come in time. I like Nwaneri. He will come in time for specific games. But other than that, it's difficult. I see the wisdom in bringing Sterling. I wish we just brought someone that we could use. Yeah.
Very good thoughts, though. At this point, I think Mingos can chip in. We basically just broke down Arsenal, and Arsenal man over here telling us what he thinks of the team. So you used the word disappointed earlier. Do you see a resurrection from this disappointment?
What now?
Do you see a resurrection from this disappointment? Do
A
you see you
resurrection?
guys coming back? Yeah.
Of course, of course. I'm 100% confident that as soon as the what's it called the break happens, you're going to see a different Arsenal. You're going to see the Arsenal I saw in preseason before everything started. What's it called? Started happening. The Arsenal that can control games, that can actually compete. Because not only what Arteta was saying during his press conference was not just that players were injured, but players that were struggling with fitness were not training. So basically, you're looking at Saka, it's not training. Declan Rice, not training. You look at Timber's not training. And so when these players are not training, you're not getting them up to date in terms of like cohesion, in terms of like chemistry, in terms of like improving tactics. You're just trying to manage your minutes. Like on all these players, they're not even 90-minute players. They're like 70, 60 at best. Sorry, 60-minute players, 70 at best. And I think when we come back, once that becomes less of an issue, we can just put on the brakes. Like we can compete with any team. We just have to be fit. that is the problem, because like we went last season and we played a lot of games, but we didn't have as many fitness issues. Like you remember the season, I don't know if it was 3 years ago when you guys had a what's it called, an injury crisis, and how that affected. I think you ended up that season like in seventh position. What's it called?
Mhm.
Was And that's how much it can change, because it doesn't have to be the entire team. It just
Oh
has
yeah,
to be the key players,
yeah,
and if a lot of and a word could be said from Arteta as to, like, why our entirety of our attack revolves around Odegaard. There's a little bit too much dependence in that sense. But we did bring Marino in to help with that. He needs time because he came in immediately got an injury, and he himself is playing his way into fitness as well. So it's just one of those things where it's like, if you're trying to look for the most unideal start to the season, we've had it.
yeah,
But now that it's done, I think we'll kick on, because I personally rate Arsenal over anybody else. But that shit might have sailed. Mhm.
fair enough. All right, as we go into the next segment of the show, amigos, like, subscribe, and share this content. Let us know what you think, and let us know where you think Arsenal is going to sit by the end of this season. I think they're going to make top four, but I don't see them staying in top three. So, if that make any sense. But yes, the next segment we want to talk about the Red Devil topping the table. I'm excited. I'm excited. It feels good to be a Liverpool fan right now. But we don't celebrate until we get the title. So, um, you mentioned Van Dijk. I mentioned Van Dijk earlier. I think we could possibly be a victim of injury crisis when you have key players like Van Dijk, Salah being out. That's gonna take a lot of points from us. So one thing that I like about this current Liverpool setup is the rotation. I keep saying it, and I like that they change as soon as possible, like 65, 60 minutes. We're seeing these changes coming in, and being they're playing pivotal role in our result. So we need to start playing around with, hey, can we take Salah off? Can we take Van Dijk off? What is that gonna look like for us? If worst case scenario, you're just gonna have to bring in Endo to make the defense a little stronger. But regardless, I'm super excited with the result that we got. I wasn't worried about any of those games. I wasn't worried about us losing or drawing any of those games. Of course, we won, but I was impressed with how we came out, show out, and just kill the game. Especially the Leverkusen game. I thought four staff was again not the best. For some reason, Liverpool is just this season we just slow and we just pick up the running shoe and we just run the opponents. The same thing happened in that game. They had their own chances. They didn't utilize them. The same thing with Aston Villa. I think Aston Villa had a game plan, but their game plan wasn't going to be good enough for our team. Van Dijk did a good job. But big shout out to our goalkeeper though, Kelleher. And this is what I was talking about on the first segment. I was talking about having a strong backup. Um, Allison has been out on injury like two or three times in about 12 months now. I think it's time to sell him to Saudi. Let Keller be the number one goalkeeper. And Keller has brought himself to the point that he wasn't just an ordinary kid from the academy or somewhere or wherever he came from, but he is a strong contender for that position. And that's what I hope that Arsenal will also implement. Have a very strong backup for some of these key positions. And the other ones that you don't have strong backup for, whoever that is on the team that can play these roles, that can play multiple roles, you know, just groom them to be a strong backup for all these roles. Um, of course, this it's not a winning strategy. Honestly, it's not a winning blueprint to win a Premier League, but this day and age with plenty of games, it is definitely a necessity. Back in the days of Alex Ferguson and the old guys, now the guys that are old now, they can have the same in the top 11 play like 6 7 games in a row. You know, it's almost the same old Henry. It's almost the same old, Vieira and all of those guys, right? But it doesn't roll like that anymore. So you have to keep this substitution going. You have to start playing around with different formation. So football is changing. That's all I have for Liverpool. But do you have any thought or question for us?
Uh, not really. I was very impressed. Specifically, the Bayern game was touchy initially, but towards the end, it was clear there was only one winner. And as soon as they started trying to actually push on for a goal, you kept hurting them. The Aston Villa was much more impressive because it was a much more managed game. I was surprised by how well managed because I thought Aston Villa put up, but also, Aston Villa, I said it initially, was just the fact that I don't think they have a robust enough squad to do Champions League and what's it called Premier League at the same time, and it's starting to show. So I think there's an aspect of that, but I also still think that that's still a good team, and you limited their danger very effectively, and then I thought the second goal was very emphatic. And there's not much to say past that. So it was a very, I've been seeing very controlled performances. However, I will say, obviously, you go to the next set of games, Tottenham, Man City, and the like, and then the challenges starts dialing up. I don't know if you're away for those games, but I'm assuming you're going to start playing those away games more. It's like how do you feel going into that?
I feel confident, for sure. Going even the Tottenham game, I'm not stressed about that. Even the Man City game. The reason that I feel confident is the coach is doing what I would have done if I were to be a coach. I played soccer and I know what it means to show up on Monday, Wednesday, and try to do it again on uh, the weekend. You actually play the game and you stretch, then you take a little break, you get back into it. So that rotation will be fantastic for us. I can see us going away to Man City and beat them. That's how confident I am. We've seen Holland, how people are starting to say, okay, this is how you mark this guy. This is how you keep up with this guy. So people are starting to figure those things out. Again, there's never gonna be a guy that's gonna be top notch for like 5 6 7 season in Premier League. You will always get figured out. At some point, it used to be Mo Salah with 30 goals and all of that for like 2 or 3 seasons in a row. You don't get that anymore. It's now been reintroduced to us as a different Mo Salah now. And we're seeing the numbers. But the point being, you have to have control of the game. You have to have control of this substitution. And you have to continuously pivot with all this formation. And Liverpool's got those three. I like what I'm saying. So I have zero worries. Worst case scenario, we'll get it we'll, we'll get 0-0 or 2-2 at Man City. But Tottenham, I definitely can see a 3-1 or 3-0 for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
I personally don't know, but from the recent form, all things are possible. So, was it 9 wins out of 11? So I
Yeah.
do believe that has to speak for itself. We'll see how it goes. They are definitely the front runner. Uh, the Opta, their statistics, they said likelihood of winning the Premier League, they said was Liverpool by 58. What's it called? Man City by 38 and Arsenal by 3%. Uh, I no. I mean, I think that like if this was January, maybe you can start like talking about that. But I was like, it is what it is. I
It
would
is what it
say
is, but
though,
the season that a lot of people say the season is early. The season is not early after game one. After game one, you start seeing potentials and you start seeing what things gonna look like.
Oh, I understand that part. Is what I mean is because like this season, like I was like I don't think there are any easy games.
Oh, for sure, for
So
sure.
and I will say in terms of playing and things is I think Liverpool have been very fortunate in terms of outcomes and referee decisions and like nothing was it called nothing extra has happened. Like I was watching the Arsenal game with Liverpool, how combative were, like yellow cards, like those kind of things are not happening, right? And as soon as that starts happening, there are not many teams you can get away with anything going out of plan. There's not many
Mhm.
teams. Like you think about even Bournemouth, you think about Nottingham Forest, uh, even Everton. I'm sorry, what was it
Yeah,
called? Looking very hard to break down, and so it's a long game. So like you start seeing all these things, and it might change, it might not change. It's for me, it's hard to tell.
yeah,
That's where I put it. In terms of where the squad is placed, you have by far the fittest and the most well-rounded squad. And this was something that like we talked about even before this beginning of the season. Whereas that the squad is great, they just can't play Gengen anymore. And it's good.
yeah.
Is what's it called? It's interesting to see where what's it called they evolve to. And Arnold as a what's it called? Arnie, sorry, has managed that evolution. But yeah, we'll see it in the next game. We'll see it. I think the week with Real Madrid and uh, and Man City, that's going to be a very interesting one, and we'll see what that says. If and I think if they navigate that confidently, I think we can probably just start going with them as heir apparent. But back to you, Sam. Mhm. Mhm.
Hey, even the Madrid game, for some reason, I'm not so worried about that. I don't know why. I wasn't a big believer in this current team from the beginning, but now I see games in and out. They're not scoring, but they're not scoring five, six, seven goals. But I'm impressed. And but yes, very good thoughts. Very, very good thoughts. Amigos, like and subscribe, share these videos. Uh, our boy Midday will be back next show, so we can talk about Man United. And I know there's a lot of Man United fans out there. So do us a favor. Help us get one more subscriber this week. If you can share this content, that would be great. It can definitely help us go further. All right, ladies and gentlemen, as we about to go into the so about to call it a day for this episode. Stay well and enjoy the international break. Anything, amigo Ayo? Any
Oh,
goodbye?
so
No
happy.
goodbye in a different language. You have any different language that you can say?
I'm not 100% constant. Odabo or
Odavo, okay.
I don't know.
What language is that?
That's
Remind
Yoruba.
us.
Yeah.
Yoruba, all right.
Mhm.
Adios, amigos.